Think about that sinking feeling. It is late at night, perhaps just a few hours before a major deadline, and you're staring at a completely blank screen. The cursor blinks rhythmically, almost as if it is mocking you. The sheer weight of this unstarted task feels like a physical pressure sitting heavily on your chest. You knew about this project for weeks. You had all the time in the world to get it done at a comfortable, reasonable pace. Yet, here you are again, entirely paralyzed, bargaining with the clock, and wondering why you do this to yourself every single time. You look at the work of others and assume they possess some magical discipline that you simply lack. It feels like a fundamental flaw in your character, a frustrating glitch in your ability to just do the very thing you know you need to do. But it is not just these frantic, panic-stricken nights that drain you. It is the chronic, quiet exhaustion of the tomorrow cycle. Every morning, you wake up with a quiet, hopeful promise that today will be entirely different. Today, you tell yourself, you will sit down, maintain focus, and finally clear your plate. But as the hours slip by, a strange, invisible resistance builds up inside you. It feels insurmountable, so you whisper a familiar excuse. You tell yourself you will just do it tomorrow. Tomorrow, you will be well rested. Tomorrow, you will feel properly inspired. But pushing your responsibilities to tomorrow does not actually give you a break today. Instead, you end up carrying the heavy mental weight of those unfinished tasks everywhere you go. They sit quietly in the back of your mind while you are watching a movie, while you are having dinner with friends, slowly poisoning your free time with a low grade, constant hum of guilt. You are never truly working, but you are never truly resting either. To cope with this profoundly exhausting cycle, you have probably started telling yourself a very specific, comforting lie. You tell yourself that you simply work better under pressure. You convince yourself that you need that last-minute adrenaline rush to force your stubborn brain into a state of focus, believing that sheer panic is the only reliable way you can produce good work. But deep down, you know the true cost of this illusion. Relying on sheer terror to get things done is not a sustainable productivity strategy. It is a biological emergency response. Operating this way month after month leaves you chronically burnt out, highly strung, and trapped in a physiological state of perpetual stress. You are not thriving under pressure. You are merely surviving it. And the invisible toll it takes on your nervous system is far heavier than you realize. Let us take a moment to look at the heavy label you have placed upon yourself. You call it laziness. When you look at the pile of unwashed laundry, the unanswered emails, or the project that is now weeks overdue, it is so easy to conclude that you are simply a lazy person. You believe you lack the intrinsic motivation that normal people seem to possess. But I want you to hear this clearly. Your chronic procrastination is not a moral failing. It is not a deep-seated character flaw. And it is certainly not laziness. Laziness is a state of apathy, a peaceful choice to do nothing and feel perfectly fine about it. But you are not fine. You are agonizing over the things you are not doing. You are carrying an immense burden of guilt every single day. A truly lazy person does not feel the intense, crushing shame that you feel when you avoid your tasks, because you have misdiagnosed yourself with a lack of discipline. You have probably tried to fix the problem with the most logical solutions. You have downloaded countless productivity apps, bought beautifully bound planners, and color-coded your calendar. You set rigid schedules and promise yourself that this time, you will finally stick to the routine. But these tools inevitably fail you, leaving you feeling even more broken when the planner sits unopened on your desk. They fail because they treat entirely the wrong disease. Time management tools are designed for people who simply do not know how to organize their day. But your problem has never been a lack of knowing what to do or when to do it. You know exactly what needs to be done. The hidden reality of your procrastination is deeply rooted in how your mind protects you. What you are experiencing is a subconscious emotional regulation problem. When you think about sitting down to do a difficult task, your brain does not just see a chore. It anticipates negative emotions. It expects frustration, fear of failure, boredom, or the deep insecurity of not being good enough. To your brain, these negative emotions are perceived as a genuine threat. Your mind triggers a primal response to protect you from this emotional discomfort. You avoid the task not because you do not care, but because your brain is desperately trying to keep you safe from the anxiety that the task provokes. To understand how this happens, we must look at a tiny almond-shaped structure in your mind called the amygdala. This is your brain's ancient threat center, designed long ago to keep you alive. When an early human saw a predator, the amygdala instantly flooded their body with stress hormones, screaming at them to run. Today, you are no longer running from wild animals. Your amygdala does not know that. When you stare at a massive, complicated spreadsheet or think about drafting a difficult email, you experience a flicker of self-doubt. That spark of negative emotion is instantly detected. Your amygdala cannot tell the difference between the existential dread of a deadline and the physical danger of a lion. To your ancient brain, that spreadsheet is a predator threatening your competence. So it hijacks your nervous system, triggering an overwhelming urge to escape. And how do you escape? You click away. You pick up your phone and open social media. You scroll through a feed or suddenly decide the kitchen counter desperately needs wiping down. In that exact moment of turning away from the terrifying task, you experience a sudden drop in anxiety. You feel safe again. To reward you for escaping the perceived predator, your brain releases a hit of dopamine, the chemical of pleasure and relief. This is the trap. You are biologically rewarding yourself for running away. Every time you choose the temporary comfort of scrolling over the discomfort of work, your brain registers a full success story. It learns that avoidance is the only way to feel good. This is where the true cost of procrastination reveals itself. There is a rule in neuroscience stating that neurons that fire together, wire together. Every time you feel the stress of a task, avoid it, and get that dopamine relief. You are physically altering your brain's structure. You are building a deeply entrenched neurological highway. Over months of repeating this cycle, you are actively training your nervous system to link the mere concept of work with sheer panic. You are secretly rewiring your brain for anxiety. Eventually, if one doubts, you do not even need to look at the spreadsheet to feel overwhelmed. Just the vague thought of having obligations triggers a baseline state of dread. Your mind becomes so efficient at this avoidance loop that the anxiety bleeds into your evenings, leaving you entirely unable to rest. To escape this exhausting reality, you must realize you are not lazy. You are simply operating with an overactive neural pathway. Once you understand this, everything shifts. You can finally recognize when your brain tries to protect you. The next time you sit at your desk and suddenly feel intense exhaustion, pause. Ask yourself if you are truly tired, or if your mind is just pulling the fire alarm. Task-induced anxiety often masks itself as profound fatigue. It is a desperate plea from your nervous system to sleep rather than face the discomfort of trying and potentially failing. Once you name this feeling as a false alarm, it loses its grip on you. To short-circuit this loop, you have to trick your threat response. You cannot bully your fear into submission through sheer willpower or harsh self-criticism. That only adds stress, creating more avoidance. Instead, gently bypass your internal security system. Make the next action so absurdly small that it no longer registers as a threat. Tell yourself you are not going to write the entire report. You will only open the document and type a single sentence. You are not going to clean the whole room. You will just put away one coffee cup. 5 minutes of effort is too small to trigger panic. By drastically lowering the stakes, you slip past your mind's defenses. Once you cross that tiny threshold of starting, the emotional discomfort vanishes, replaced by a quiet sense of momentum. Finally, this is how you use the exact same mechanism of neuroplasticity to heal. Every time you coax yourself into 5 minutes of action without panicking, you lay down a new, healthier neural pathway. You replace the cycle of self-blame with a systematic approach to building confidence. It takes time to dismantle old highways of anxiety, so you must be deeply patient with yourself. You are not a broken machine failing at productivity. You are a human being who has simply been trying too hard to survive your own expectations. The next time you feel the urge to run away, take a breath. Forgive your frightened mind for trying to protect you. And take one tiny,